let's talk about, you did something where you had 100 conversations with strangers. I was one of those strangers. So that is why I even know you and why we're sitting down and doing this podcast. But what did you learn overall from that experience?
Sure, yeah. So I've done multiple challenges with having intentional conversations with strangers. Last year was the first time I did it in 2023, and I just wanted to have, originally it was supposed to be 365 strangers.
For every day
of the year. And I was going to vlog every day of the year, short form.
Yeah.
And I ended up dialing that back because I realized I would not have a life the entire year. And so I dialed it back to 100 connections. So last year I just did 100 strangers, and it was just classified as, in some place that I'm at consistently, I'd have to make a stranger into somebody who I can call by name. And so the biggest thing that I learned out of that was pretty much what I'd already learned. I just kind of wanted to showcase it with a metric, but pretty much we're all a lot more similar than we are different. And most people are very open to being chatted up if you approach it right. Yeah. And then I wanted to niche down a bit. I started doing the 100 conversations with 100 people in the creator industry as a means to learn more about the creator industry, find out what people are doing. I wasn't just talking to creators, it was also people who might work in marketing or that might work as like people who work with creators.
Did you learn anything about like types of questions, if certain stuff invoked better responses? I always find that how are you is a bad question, but I actually don't like to say it's a bad question because there's nothing bad about the question, but our culture has made the automatic response good. So you go, how are you? Someone goes, good. And even if they're not good or they could give a better answer, it's just generally, it's literally become, how are you has become a way to just acknowledge someone without being rude and move on. So I generally try to avoid that question. I'm wondering if in your 100 conversations, did you learn anything like that or just in general?
Yeah. My biggest takeaway from these 100 conversations was different than the first one because I was approaching it from, I wanted to learn more about the creator industry as a way to break into the creator industry and hopefully maybe network a bit to potentially find future clients. That was like the inspiration. And then Jack Ryan, who's been on the podcast, he told me, he's like, why don't you make a series out of it and just approach it from like your genuine curiosity instead. And so with every conversation, biggest thing I found was no matter who you were talking to, if you, like I never did any research on anybody. It was just, okay, I'm talking to this person, I know what they do, and I'll find out more during the conversation. And if you approach any conversation right off the bat from a little bit more excitement than maybe somebody would expect, and they're a stranger, and let's just say it's a networking call, then most of the time it doesn't feel that way to them, and it doesn't feel that way to you. For me, I was always just genuinely curious about like, what are you doing? Like, what have you done in the creator industry? What's been your journey? What are your goals? What are your dreams? It's my favorite question to ask somebody is, what is your dream? Which we've talked about, yours.